Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer. And by that, I mean I'm an expert in the area of criminal law, because this is what I do. I try cases. So today's episode is brought to you by eForms.com. That's eForms.com. Now remember, eForms is a great place to go. And if you need a lease, if you need a business agreement, if you have a debt that somebody owes you and you want to have them sign, or you loan somebody to somebody and you want to have them sign a little promissory note, you can get those kind of forms there. You don't need to hire a guy like me to draft that kind of stuff. You just go to eForms.com and they'll take care of you. Now, today we are reacting to the biggest news that everybody's talking about, and that is the Trump property in Florida, Mar-a-Lago, being searched by the FBI. So this is kind of a big fucking deal. Okay, so here's the deal. To get a warrant really isn't that hard. They need probable cause. And what do they need to get a warrant? Well, this isn't your typical warrant situation. Okay, so you're going to have, this isn't just some one rogue agent that is going off just on a fishing expedition. You're going to have whoever's looking for the documents. There's a team of lawyers working on this. You also have to have the head of the Department of Justice sign off on this. You're going to have the head of the FBI sign off on this. And then you have to have a prosecutor go to a judge, and a judge has to sign off on this. And so one of the things, in order to get a search warrant, the prosecutor has to have an affidavit. And the affidavit has to support probable cause. The affidavit in this case is sealed, so we can't see it. And this is a former president. The home of a former flippin' president. This has never happened before in our nation's history. Now, some people can say this is all political. I'm going to leave that aside, okay? Whether it's political or not, I kind of don't give a shit, because the actual legality of things is what interests me. The criminality of what we're talking about interests me. What we probably know is that this is related to documents he took from the White House. What we also know is that there have been constant requests, and there's been a constant communication between Trump's lawyers and the Department of Justice and the National Archives to get back the documents that they have taken. If this is just archival documents, I don't think you would have this kind of raid on his place. I'm not sure exactly how many agents there were. There were over 30, is my understanding, and they're armed because they execute every search warrant the exact same way. And when they execute a search warrant, they don't give you a forewarning. Oh, by the way, so you can flush some shit down the toilet. We're on our way, like in the movie Goodfellas, when they sneak into the house, and we're not sneaking in the house. They raid the house, and she runs upstairs and she cuts open the cocaine and dumps it down the toilet. Well, that's what they exactly don't want to happen. They want to preserve the evidence so there's the element of surprise. But what we know probably from, if you just have smart wits about you, is that this is not just about some trinkets or archival documents that they took. It has probably a lot more to do with Russia and national security, is my guess. And if you remember, Trump made such a big stink about classified information and mishandling of classified information in the 2016 election. He did, and he said it was disqualifying for Hillary Clinton. So, but the politics aside, the statute is a 3-year, up to 3 years. So it's really a huge amount of time he'd be looking at if he's convicted of it. There's also another provision in the statute, a disqualifier. So if anybody convicted of that statute is disqualified from running in the future, that's a statutory prohibition. whether it's a statutory prohibition or whether that's even constitutional, it's never been tested. So one could argue that that part of the statute to prohibit him from running would be unconstitutional. Here's what I caution for the libs out there. Don't gloat on this, because it's just stupid to gloat. It is not a badge of honor to have a former president's house searched or even prosecuted. We don't want that. Do we really want that? I mean, if it's warranted, yeah, because nobody's above the law. But is it a badge of honor for our country to have a former? Was it a badge of honor for our country to watch Nixon resign? No. You want your president to be successful. So this is what Trump had to say about it. These are dark times for our nation, as my beautiful home, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, is currently under siege, raided, and occupied by the large group of FBI agents. Nothing like this has ever happened to a president of the United States before. After working and cooperating with relevant government agencies, this unannounced raid on my home was not necessary or appropriate. It is prosecutorial misconduct, the weaponization of the justice system, and an attack by radical left Democrats who desperately don't want me to run for president in 2024, especially based on recent polls, and who will likewise do anything to stop Republicans and conservatives in the upcoming midterms elections. Such an assault could only take place in broken third world countries. There's checks and balances. You've got two branches of government. You've got the executive branch with the law enforcement branch being the FBI, and Mr. Wray is a Republican appointee. And then you got the judicial branch, who is the check on the gatekeeper for this kind of activity. So it's not to say that it happens in third world countries is ridiculous. Sadly, America has now become one of those countries, corrupt at a level not seen before. Kind of agree with some of that, especially with the former administration. They've even broken into my safe. What is the difference between this and Watergate, where operatives broke into the Democratic National Committee? Here in reverse, Democrats broke into the home of the 45th. Democrats didn't break into anything. These are career people. The political prosecution of President Donald J. Trump has been going on for years. And now with fully debunked Russia scam, impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, and so much more. It just never ends. It is political targeting at its highest level. Hillary Clinton was allowed to delete and acid wash 33,000 emails after they were subpoenaed by Congress. Absolutely nothing has happened to hold her accountable. She even took an antique furniture and other items from the White House. I stood up to America's bureaucratic corruption. I restored power to the people and truly delivered for our country, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So let's talk about this just a little bit here. Let's look at the legal irons Donald Trump has in the fire. He's got a grand jury investigation in Fulton County, Georgia. That's where he demanded 11,000 plus more votes. He's got a grand jury investigation both in Manhattan DA's office and the Attorney General's office on a civil thing related to his businesses. He's got now we know for sure he's got a criminal grand jury that's being impaneled in D.C. And then now with the search warrant. The level, if this was my client, I would be like, oh my God, you wake up every morning, there's something new, there's a new charge, there's a new, and it isn't just political hackery. If there's nothing there, there's nothing there. But in order to get a search warrant for the police to do this, they have to have an affidavit that articulates probable cause, and I guarantee you a federal judge is not going to sign a search warrant if it's just a fishing expedition. Okay? It just isn't going to happen. Especially when it's the 45th president of the United States. A judge is going to be extra careful. The FBI is going to be extra careful. Merrick Garland is going to be extra careful. You're going to find that there's going to be all kinds of challenges to everything. Yeah, because that's what they do. When I go to trial, when I fight stuff, I don't fight every single little thing that I can possibly fight, because you wind up losing credibility when you do that. I fight the big fights, things that I think I can win, or that I need to preserve a record for. And I usually win. Those fights I usually win. And you get more credibility when you're not shooting just shotgun shells everywhere, when you're more like a laser. In this case, you're going to see that they're going to be like, they're going to throw everything at the wall. They're going to and it's not, I've never done anything wrong, blah 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 blah. And so I think they came out with at least 14 boxes or something like that. And it'll be interesting to see how this develops. Now, the problem that we have is when we politicize this stuff, okay? Nobody's above the law, and I think all Republicans and Democrats would agree on that, wouldn't you? You'd agree on that? And I think when we have some kind of real, there was a big rally. I don't know if you want to call it a rally, but a lot of people gathered around outside Trump's Mar-a-Lago place last night when this, either right after or when it was going on. And we got to take a step back, because this isn't a revolution time. We're not in a civil war, and it shouldn't be like that. They went through the normal courses of law in order to get that search warrant. But listen to Kevin McCarthy. Let's listen to Kevin McCarthy. He tweeted yesterday, "I've seen enough. The Department of Justice has reached an intolerable state of politicization. When Republicans take back the House, we will conduct immediate oversight of this department, follow the facts, and leave no stone unturned. Attorney General Garland, preserve your documents and clear your calendar." Well, that's exactly what he did. You've heard story after story about Trump putting shit down the toilet and whatever. So when we do politicize this, I don't think it serves anybody. But nobody is above the law. And you watch Trump, he's eating his own words. I mean, if it turns out he had classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, that's a problem for him. That's a real problem, both politically and legally speaking. So let's rewind just a little bit and see what Trump's position was on this exact same issue in 2016.
Today, those classified, the word classified. This was not just extreme carelessness with classified material, which is still totally disqualifying. This is calculated, deliberate, premeditated misconduct. The Secretary of State was extremely careless and negligent in handling our classified secrets. She lied about passing on classified information, right?
So Trump complained and complained and complained about it back in 2016, and now it's coming home to roost. That's one of the things when you're out there talking, sometimes your own words can come back and bite you in the ass. And that's what's happening now. It isn't political. You might want to think it is, and it is 100% legal. And then there is a danger, though, of people not believing that it is just that it is just political. Christopher Wray is a Trump appointee. Trump, when he thought he was going to be investigated, he got rid of Comey and put in Christopher Wray. So he's a political appointee. He's there for 10 years. You had a judge, and I don't know much about the judge that signed this warrant, but I would bet $1 to a hole in a donut it's a Republican appointee, because most of the appointees over the last 10 years have all been Republican appointees. So he's got not a whole lot to bitch about. But let's see how this plays out. Merrick Garland, I guarantee you, will come out and do a press conference sometime in the next day or two. And he's going to say why they did this. He's not going to say what's in that affidavit. And I guarantee you, they knew exactly where they were going. They knew exactly what they were looking for, and they went and got it. And my guess is that the affidavit that supports the probable cause to get the warrant contains statements from an insider, because how else would they know where and when to get it? So there's a snitch among his midst. So this is just our little take on the search warrant being executed at Mar-a-Lago. You know, it is interesting because I watched a little bit of Michael Cohen and some of the other talking heads, and it isn't easy to get a warrant for Trump's house. A judge is not going to just sign it willy-nilly. And sometimes if they overblow, you know, if they exaggerate in the affidavit, and which means that you can challenge the affidavit, or challenge the probable cause portion of the warrant, they'll do that down the road. And if anything turns out to be illegal, it'll be suppressed. So just keep an eye on this, and we'll look for Merrick Garland's take on this and his explanation in the next couple days. So this is Bruce Rivers, just my take on the search at Mar-a-Lago, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Please subscribe, like, follow, stop yourself snitching. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God?